Hello YouTube audience. In this video I just wanted to show really cool features of shader nodes. So this is a default scene. You can add a plane. And here's my shading setup. You can use really any kind as long as you have a shading editor and a 3D viewport. Um, this video I wanted to show how you don't really need to use just, noise and procedural generation to make cool shaders. You can actually use just math, which is awesome. So here I'm going to use object coordinates, which gives us this like Cartesian coordinate system. And from here we can separate the axes, which is a very, very powerful tool because now what we can do is flip the negatives and use a less than operation, which gives us basically a line that we can determine how thick it is with this single parameter. I'll leave it at 0.5 though. And we can do the same with the y to get a horizontal one. And these two can be multiplied together to find where they're overlapping. And this gives us a square. The reason this is cool and why we shouldn't use image textures is because, or at least we shouldn't always use image textures, is because we have these parameters that let us change things at any point. And it's also in vector math, so we basically don't have pixels. You can visualize it like that. We have just math operations that define shapes. So this is a square, obviously, but what I want to show you is all kinds of shapes. So here I can make a triangle, again using separate XYZ. And just to clarify, I'm using quick shortcuts that I have set up. So I have QS for separate, QT for texture coordinate, QM for math nodes. I have many more, but just setting up those three basic ones are really, really helpful and can speed up your process instead of needing to search, obviously. But here I want to make a triangle by, again, flipping the negatives with an absolute node and adding just a normal y to get something like this, which on its own is not that special. But when we add a less than operation, now we can make a super sharp angle like this. So here, from this triangle, we're going to add a new place, new space, I mean, and do a single vector node operation right here, just one single vector math node, and press L for length. This gives us like a radial gradient radiating from the center to the corners, which is very, very cool because now we can use a math node to get a single circle and determine its size whenever we want. So it could be really, really big or 0.25, really, really small. Default is 0.5. This on its own is pretty strong. Like you can make a lot of shapes using just a circle, but one thing you can do with noise and proceduralism is add some kind of randomness and get a mix two values together using the noise as a factor. And now we can determine like the peaks, if that makes sense, the peaks of the circle and the lowest points of the circle. And the noise controls it all. So this lets us make really, really cool designs and patterns using just proceduralism. And as you can tell, if I zoom in, I can zoom in really, really far because this has no pixels. This is all defined using math, which makes it very, very, very cool. One of the big upsides to proceduralism, in my opinion. So here we have just square, triangle, circle. And once you begin to combine these shapes, you can make very, very cool designs. Like for example, I saw one logo that looked like this. I can make a quick square using our previous operation that I just showed you, basically multiplying two lines. And I can add on this side before the absolute to shift it on the X. And I can also use my shortcuts that I've set up to rotate it. Actually, what I want to do is something like this. Rotate this by 45. And after that, or before that, sorry, shift it by 0.5. I'm actually going to scale it all. So this is basically just showing a very rudimentary process for making a logo or making a shape. And from here we can duplicate it all while holding Command and Shift to keep all of the links intact. Some people call them noodles, some people call them lines. And from here we can add them together. And here we have a very simple shape, but I mean, it gets really as advanced as you want. I can show you some of the things I've made recently. Here's a clover, which I think has a growth system I implemented. So I can have it shrink and kind of originate from these little, I don't know what to call them, these little lines and start to grow from them to finally become a clover. It's very, very cool. And these are all made only by shader nodes. These nodes gives this final result. And one of the cool things behind this is these awesome radial patterns, which end up being really, really useful. These are made using gradient textures set to radial, and then I have followed by a lot of math operations. And I have map ranges. This is really a great intro to shader nodes. Well, it's a great intro to making symbols with shader nodes, since these are all really the like 20% of the nodes. I know Andrew Price says this a lot if you know Blender. 20% of the work, sorry, 20% of the tools bring you 80 or 70% of the progress, basically. So just, I kind of butchered it, but basically knowing just 20% of the nodes, you can get a very, very long way. And I think this is also transparent on a black background. And again, it's in 3D space, like this is Blender. So that's really awesome. With this knowledge, learn more. If you want, uh, if you want people to watch on YouTube to do this, search Arendelle, search CG Matter, Default Cube. You probably know these people already, but they're great. If you don't, go check them out. They're amazing. Um, but yeah, you can learn math with nodes and you can make things.